7.
You're listening to Fox Sports
Tonight,
Countdown,
skies and
brought to you by
61.
BetMGM.
Weather expert
The
sign
sports
Corey
book
McCloskey.
born in
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. Eat Lux your way with the new $5 Classic, $7 Supreme, and $9 Discovery Lux Craving Boxes from Taco Bell at participating stores for a limited time only. While supplies last, price of participation varies.
What is
Drinks
going on?
exclude
Happy Sunday
freezes.
to
Tax
ya.
extra.
We get
Don
all
McDowell
set.
Outdoor Radio is sponsored by Elevate
College
Design Group.
basketball action, get it down to the Sweet 16 on the
It's
men's
time
side.
for Don
Very much
McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910. A show for the avid fisherman and hunter looking for tips from the pros. Now here's your host, a saltwater fisherman and the man that fears no fish. He's the bass daddy and a tournament pro, Don McDowell.
Alrighty, hey, welcome to the show. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today, a lot of stuff going on this week and moving forward. A lot of stuff was going on this past month that we're going to talk about. As always, we've got top of the hour, we've got Captain Chemo and Sheriff Sausage Fingers. Sheriff Wynn. I can't call him Sausage Fingers on the air. That's so wrong. Coffee and Chaos, we've got Commissioner Guggenauer. We need to talk to him. And then Chris Rich, time certain at 8:15. And moving ahead, we're going to talk about a few things in the second hour that's going to be affecting our outdoor experience. And may do some of that in the first hour. But backed by popular demand, JJ is back from Ukraine. You've heard him before. I know you've got a good following, by the way.
Oh, that's
You have
fantastic.
a lot of fans out there that, the 9 radio interviews that we did with you, once before. Boy, there was an awful lot of interest in you personally, what you're doing, and what's happening over on the Ukraine battlefront. But thanks for coming in. I know you've got limited amount of time here before you return back to the battle space over there. From your standpoint, what's going on? We've got awful lot of rumors flying around out there. We've got new Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State, and everybody's got this, seems to get their finger in this ceasefire discussion, the talks.
Yeah, I think Pete and Vice President and everybody, they might have their finger in it, but they're all using those fingers to push in the right direction, is the way that we feel about it. So, there's a lot of really positive stuff going on, and I pretty much only come back to Phoenix, when I get wounded to get medical treatment. But when I was in Washington last time, a couple months ago, after the inauguration, the level of activity that's there, like in the Rayburn Building, in the Capitol Building, and in the White House, is like something I've never seen before. So everybody's running around scrambling, actually doing their jobs.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's pretty incredible, and it's a really nice thing to see. And it doesn't necessarily mean agree with. It's not just right side of the aisle. Like, everybody is being very proactive at the moment. Like I said, it's what you expect Washington to look like, with people being active and serving the people, or legislators being active and serving the people. I guess is the best way to say it. So. It's a very interesting time.
Well, what's you mentioned Pete? What's your opinion of him?
I think he's fantastic, and I think that the secretary, it's very, very difficult to get in, to do an entire career, get into a position like that, and not be affected by the machine and the bureaucracy that is Washington. And then one of the things that I really like about Pete is, like, he hasn't lost that touch, and he's still maintaining which I think is a pretty good focus on what's really important, which is, our number one priority, which is, fighting and winning the nation's wars. And, that's his primary focus. He hasn't been tainted by that, growing up in that bureaucracy and everything else, and he's bringing a fresh perspective that I think is correct back to the military, which is is really good. And that combination with Secretary Rubio, Vice President, and Pete is.
What's your let me know what's your opinion of Rubio?
I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Is he?
Yeah. I think he could do a little bit more if Witkoff wasn't so assertive, but I think he's finding his place and his role and everything else. But I think he was the right pick for the job.
Well, all of those guys, they inherited, big giant bucket of worms. Regardless, I'll agree with you. I think Rubio's doing a good job. I wasn't real excited about his appointment to begin with. I don't much care for the guy. I don't know whether it's the way he combs his hair, doesn't polish his shoes, or what it is. But he seems to be picking up the baton and running with it. So we'll see where he goes because as you said, we've got some very interesting times ahead of us, and I think as forceful as the president is, he needs to tread with caution. Mm-hmm. I still think we're sitting on a powder keg. We've got some relationships that need to be divorced with Russia and China, most certainly. Iran's a big player. Let me ask you this. I was pretty much taken aback originally months ago when North Korea started putting soldiers in there in the battlefield in Ukraine. What's your opinion? What can you share with us on that particular aspect?
Yeah, so there was a period there where they were pretty active, and it's very underreported in the news, and it's also very inaccurately portrayed because the journalists from the AP and some of these other outlets don't actually go to the front line, or if they do, it's very, it's like one or two of them. And they don't spend the time out there and a lot of effort. So there was actually.
So what you're saying is they're sitting in the lounge trying to digest talk.
Right. And they'll sit in the Capitol and then they create these incestuous thought pools. And the Capitol doesn't really reflect what's going on out at the front. It's like two totally different worlds. But we captured a lot of North Koreans. I had an opportunity to have a chat with a couple of them. And they were a great source of intelligence, and they were pretty shocked at they had really hook, line, and sinker bought the propaganda that Kim Jong-un sold to them, and then they got out there on the line, and
Yeah, it's a whole new deal.
Yeah, it's a whole different sport, and they lost a lot of guys, and then. They were pretty amazed when we took them prisoner and actually treated them well and got them cups of hot tea, started feeding them, things like that, gave them some cigarettes. And, they opened right up and started talking. So
let me ask you this on that note. How familiar were they in general with the technology that they just walked into? Cell phones, drones, satellites, internet, all this nonsense.
I think at the stage of, even for us, the stage that the war's at now, we're developing a lot of this stuff, and I have a really good partner of mine that I work with that's developing a lot of the drone tactics, manufacturing processes, things like that. So we're leaps and bounds as far as the Ukrainians and the United States are concerned with actual employment and manufacturing. And then the cell phone technology and all that. That's all stuff that they can't have because they live in that kind of blacked out bubble that is North Korea. So I think a lot of it was pretty shocking to them. And then
that's an understatement, I'm sure.
Yeah, and these are supposed to be their very elite, guys that do kung fu, flying through the air, breaking blocks, kind of guys, and. They were pretty taken aback, and they took an extremely high casualty rate.
How agile were they on the battlefront? Were they formidable?
No.
No.
I mean, they're agile. They can run fast. You can only run so fast through a minefield now.
Yeah.
With a machine gun on tripod pointing at you. So, yeah, they got a taste of modern warfare. I don't know how many lessons learned that they're going to be able to take back to North Korea with it, because not a lot of them survived.
Yeah, have you heard anything from coming out of the administration advising Kim Jong-un that he needs to quit this behavior? I've not seen it. I've been watching and looking for it, and I've not seen or heard a peep.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
But what I will say though is the Chinese and the Iranians and our adversaries looking at this, they're like kind of going, oh, like, yeah, we thought we had the numbers and everything else, and then you look at a first world fighting force that they go up against, and it's a pretty big reality check for them.
Wow.
So.
Well, the whole incident's been a big reality check. So, anyway, we've got to stand down, JJ. We've got to do a little bit of business for iHeartMedia here on Fox Sports. I'm Don McDowell with our brother JJ. We'll come back and continue our discussion. Stay with us.
In today's world. Outdoors on Fox Sports 910.
Okay, thanks for staying with us. If you just joined us, we got Brother JJ back from Ukraine. So since you're here, does that mean you've got a new travel agent?
A new travel.
Yeah.
I barely got on the train and got to Budapest. I was so messed up last time. So.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy over there. Overall, how do you find the living conditions? As you know, we have a mutual good friend that has friends and family over there. In fact, I spoke with one of because they have two twin boys. Marianne's over here in Bogdan. So they keep in touch on a weekly, a regular basis. They're chatting back and forth and sending financial and financial aid over there, along with humanitarian stuff. We're still supporting a orphanage over there. that with me, that's a real sore spot. Yeah, but anyway, some of Jim's in-laws, so to speak, in related extended family, were in the Ukrainian army. They got all shot up and obviously can't work. The economics are in the toilet. One of Putin's big things has been pounding the power infrastructures, power, water, gas.
Yeah, that's correct.
Sewer and all of that, and they're still out there hauling water in buckets from the river, a creek, stream, water, pond, whatever it is. Chasing their dinner around with the sticks if they can catch it, building fires to keep warm. And what's your overall thought on the as this thing progresses forward? Try to get back to some semblance of normal.
I think so. I mean, if you're on the right bank of the Dnieper, their living conditions are pretty good. If you're on the left bank towards the east, and you get out closer and closer to like Kharkiv and places like that, where you're getting around where the line is. The conditions are pretty harsh, and just like you described and everything, they got to walk water and haul it and all that kind of stuff, and make fires to warm it up and cook and bathe and all that kind of stuff.
We call it camping.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, and they've been camping for a while, but the winter wasn't especially hard this year, so there wasn't like the first year when they hit the energy infrastructure. I think that was really rough on people. I don't think it was as bad this year. And then I haven't seen any electricity rationing or anything like that in the capital like there's been in the past. So I think they're in pretty good shape. I think
so far as the capital city is concerned.
Right. Yeah. But what I will say is now that the ceasefire is like becoming more real, is the pace of the drone attacks, the missile attacks, and the glide bombs and stuff like that coming in to the big cities has markedly increased. So they're kind of like, it's like they're racing towards the finish line to try to inflict as much suffering on both sides as possible. So they know it's coming to an end. They want to make sure they're in a good negotiating space, both sides. And since the beginning of the war, like the first week when I was there, I haven't seen that level of, like I said, drone and artillery activity inside the Capitol since then. So I mean, it's been an everyday thing for the last 3 years, but like now, I mean, it is once it gets dark. It's like that till the sun comes up, and then occasionally during the middle of the day. So, they're hitting it pretty hard with very large numbers of drones that are coordinated. So,
where are these drones originating? Because we're getting reports over here in the U.S. and some of the people I'm talking to that aren't media related to that are involved in the military. They're talking about Iranian manufactured drones, etc.
Right. Yeah, so the components, yeah, definitely, they lean on Iran very heavily for the components for what I would say the larger type drones that fly at higher altitudes. The smaller stuff, the Russians are able to manufacture on a mass scale.
I understand Putin's got an account at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. So the scale that they can produce those at is pretty impressive. Ukrainians, though, on the other hand, also crank out quite a bit, and their techniques and tactics and procedures on how to use them, my friend has helped them develop most of that, and they use them to really good effect. So, but the Russians have a lot more stuff, and it wears out the air defense systems and things like that. And with Trump trying to bring him to the table and cutting off military aid and more importantly, the intelligence for that week that he did it, that definitely got their attention, and it got the Ukrainians to realize, like Trump said, you don't have any cards. And if they're not going to play ball with us, then they're pretty much, up a creek. So that finally got them to sit down and start getting realistic about expectations and things like that. So that's, I think, all been very
Uh,
positive stuff to get this thing to end. So.
So what are you thinking? Maybe we're 2 weeks away from a ceasefire, perhaps 2 or 3 weeks?
I really couldn't put a timeline on it. I
Yeah.
think that, honestly, and this is something not a lot of people know, or I don't think it really gets reported on, or it hasn't, because they're not inside the office of the president and around him. The reason this has dragged on so long is Zelensky and some of the other guys that are in the OP are trying to figure out a place to get asylum outside of the country.
Of course.
Because once the ceasefire takes effect, martial law ends, and then they're going to have an election, which Zelensky will lose.
Well, they've been threatened to get this guy replaced, and
Well, all this,
that's been going on for months and months and months, and he's been able to call the ball on it and keep his.
Well, the longer the fighting continues, it's kind of like Netanyahu. The longer the fighting continues, then he's in that seat of power for as long as they can hold on.
Sure.
And so yeah, it's costing a lot of people's lives for him to figure out how to make an exit safely with as many assets as they can scoop up. And then you got to think that his political opponents coming out of the Rada and some of these other guys that have been in exile, like Oystovich and things like that, they're not necessarily pro-Putin, but they're friendly towards Russia. And that's every single candidate. I think there's 6 of them.
On the Ukraine side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That are more than willing to sit down, have real negotiations with the Russians. And like I said, they're Russian friendly, but they're not pro-Putin. But Zelensky knows what that means for him, and he knows it could very easily end up with him being put on trial or having all his assets seized, or a worst case scenario, it ends up like Mussolini hanging down upside down off a balcony.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to make their exit. Once they do that, then I think it'll, however long that takes, whether it's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But I know they've been working on it. And
Yeah, for sure. Where's Belarus in all of this?
Now, Belarus is what Putin's dream of turning Ukraine into. That's what Belarus is. It is a client state of Russia.
Does Putin still have military amassed in the northern border there in Belarus?
Oh, yeah. And they have, more importantly, Lukashenko authorized them to store tactical nuclear weapons inside Belarus. So not only do they have Russian troops there, but they have Russian tactical nuclear weapons that they house and maintain inside.
Any
Belarus.
chance of those being deployed at this point, in your opinion?
Yeah, so the Russians don't think of tactical nuclear weapons with the same way that we think of nuclear weapons. We think of like in your mind's eye as an American, when you think of a nuclear weapon, you think of like a missile with a bunch of like 5, 6 MERV-5 warheads on the inside, and each one wipes out a city.
Well, what Western thinking, you think of Japan, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and
Sure, those are very that would be like a tactical nuclear weapon now. And the Russians are so artillery centric, rocket centric, and everything else that they would use a tactical nuke. It's part of their doctrine. They train for it, and they would use that to deny areas. So it fills it up with, that nuclear, biological, or a chemical agent, depending on how they use the weapon. And then, again, you can use it to create lanes on the battlefield that you can only, move up this part. So it's not necessarily to flatten a city or something like that. It's, a lot of it, the way that they've designed their doctrine is area denial. So that's they just don't view it the same way that we view it. They just view it as like it's just a large artillery shell.
well, you and I have been talking, and we've got a disconnect, Eastern thinking versus Western thinking, and I see that with our mutual good friend and his wife and their folks. They're here, but they're still thinking like they're there, and the ways we perceive things are totally backwards in some cases.
Yeah, it's like you could take the Ranger out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the Ranger.
Yeah, I hear you.
If you profess to understand the Eastern brain, then I know you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I listen to a lot of academics from Georgetown that are doing Russian studies and things like that, and to me, it's personally laughable because I've never been there.
That's crazy. Hold that thought. We're at the bottom of the hour. We've got to flip into a break here at Fox Sports 910. I'm Don McDowell.
Jesse.
We'll be right back. brother just here from Ukraine. So, we've been talking about the ceasefire, and there obviously is going to be some type of a property alignment, freeze in place, and then somebody's going to have to give up something on both sides. What's your opinion? You think Ukraine's going to lose maybe a fifth to a quarter of their land mass?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that's a given. There's a lot of historical context there that a lot of people miss, and I think that Zelensky coming back and saying that we're going to take every inch back to the 2014 border was never any kind of realistic. The bottom line is, I mean, I've been into Crimea and places like that. I've been into Russia. There's and Donetsk and Luhansk, but yeah, we don't have the capability to mount a successful maneuver warfare campaign to retake those areas. And the other part of it is that a lot of people don't understand historically. Before World War II, Stalin had what was called the Holmendor, where it was like their kind of version of the Holocaust, and Stalin killed 2 million Ukrainians by starving them to death. This was before World War II. And those 2 million Ukrainians that he murdered, he brought in specialists in mining and different sectors of industry like that and put them down into Donetsk and Luhansk. And essentially, he changed the demographic of those areas. So they're in those provinces, they're not Ukrainian. And they don't want to be Ukrainian, and they don't want to be Russian. So, and now on top of the modern day reality, the way the Russians fight and everything else, those cities that are in those areas are literally just names on a map. They've been completely destroyed. I mean, in a way that it would be very hard for me to explain to everybody and make you understand. It's like something I've never seen before, and it's the scale of it is it's awesome. It's pretty wild. So it's almost like, why would you want to take it back?
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, that's just not. It's just not in the cards. I think what is and what's interesting is everybody keeps talking about the security guarantees that the United States is going to provide to the Ukrainians, and as soon as you start to say security guarantees, immediately what flashes into people's heads are U.S. troops or peacekeepers or whatever.
Right.
And that's what the Europeans are thinking the same way too. And I really like the way that the administration and Trump approached this with the Mineral Rights Agreement.
Exactly.
Because that is your security guarantee. And Putin realizes that. And part of those mineral rights are in that Russian-held territory. And Putin is willing to let them come in and work American company-wise cross-border, so it spans in between Ukraine and Russia. And that's your security guarantee when you have American businesses skin in the game. They're doing work on both sides of the border and everything else, and neither country is going to want to go in and mess with that and upset it. Because when you do that, then you're going to get the sharp end of the stick.
Yes, sir.
So that's your security guarantee, is that mineral rights deal. It's not because Trump wants to go in there and make money. That's a security guarantee because now you have Americans with a vested interest on both sides of the border conducting business. And if you mess with that, then you get messed up. And you can just look at historically, when do we get involved in things? It's like when Saddam wanted to come off the petrodollar, we killed him. When Gaddafi was going to make the new African dinar and come off the petrodollar, we killed him. So you put a business in there, and then you start to mess with that business, then,
History's going to repeat itself.
yeah, and that's when we fight. And it goes all the way back to the banana wars of, Central America with Dole down, in Nicaragua and things like that, with us putting U.S. Marines in there, conducting, counterinsurgency warfare in the 20s. So, yeah, it's got actually good historical precedent to put American businesses down. And again, that's your security guarantee. It's not U.S. troops. It's not putting, quote unquote, boots on the ground or anything else. It's, hey, let's bring in business. Let's do this. Like I said, Trump's got no vested interest in trying to make money off of it. It's, then it becomes American interest because it's American business.
Well, it becomes stabilized.
Yeah, definitely. And that gives you the time to go in and rebuild those areas and things like that. And that's where the infrastructure money comes from, and it all comes from the private sector.
Yeah. Are we going to see mass efforts of private sector going back into rebuild? Some of the devastation.
Oh yeah, you're definitely going to have to, because the logistics lines are up close to the front are shot, whether it be rail lines, main supply routes with the roads, things like that. So, I mean, if anything, they'll probably, as the businesses move in, you do have those security guarantees, the ceasefire moves forward. That part that's Ukrainian held will probably end up in better shape than it was before the war started. So that's kind of what I foresee. I mean, that's I think going to be a very positive side effect. So.
Well, since you have your crystal ball out, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on the very uncomfortable subject, let's change gears and go down to Israel, Hamas, there in the Gaza. And one of the things that's militarily been addressed finally is Yemen in the Houthis. That just gone on way too long.
Yeah.
So Netanyahu, I've got a lot of respect for what he does, but your parallel with keeping power because of the conflict is certainly paramount, and we've seen that time and time again, and we're looking at history repeating itself. But the destruction and eradication of Hamas, in my mind, is absolute. And he's back at it again. Where are you in your thought process on getting that place stabilized?
All right, so I'm not a part of that sphere of influence. So anything I'm saying now is just my personal opinion.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking for.
Yeah, Hamas needs to. This is one thing I don't agree with Steve Witkoff on, where Hamas can remain as long as they're disarmed and they can become a functional arm of government. I don't think that's possible. I think they need to be absolutely, as an organization, eradicated.
Thank you.
And I think that the Arabs that are in Judea and Samaria will thank us or thank the Israelis for ridding them of that burden from Hamas in the West Bank and in Gaza. So, they've never lived without that yoke. I think once they have that off of them, you'll see a big attitude change with Arabs that are there. And then I think if they do want, if the Middle East does want, or the Arab League, whatever you want to call it, does want to see them be successful, they need to be the ones that step up and do the rebuilding and things like that. And places like Qatar need to quit being this, like, where they think they're Switzerland and they're going to mediate all these deals.
Yeah, boy, that's been a real pain in the butt.
Yeah, I personally, I mean, I lived in the Gulf for 5 years. Yeah, I just personally find them an extremely distasteful country, thinking that they can play off of the West. And
Yep, that's exactly what they're doing.
the
What's
Taliban and the Iranians.
what do you think the motivation is for the Houthi in Yemen to keep trying to interrupt the shipping? And I don't understand the mentality. They're shooting rockets and drones at the United States Navy.
Yeah,
But Trump in office, and he's not putting up with this. And now they're getting airstrike after airstrike after airstrike.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still doing it.
well, and Pete's bringing another carrier group in. That's not a small thing.
No.
I mean, to put 2 carrier groups into one area of operation,
Yeah.
that's a lot of oomph of American might. Plus, we have air bases in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. I mean, it's like they're getting the full court press. And we have a big, obviously CENTCOM's headquartered out of Doha. But they're starting to feel it. And he gave him a taste of it and gave him room to back off, which they didn't, because they were used to dealing with somebody like Biden, and now they're going to feel the full sting of it.
Yeah. Wow. Not a good thing when you got 2 carrier groups out there. Oh my goodness! Can you imagine?
That's a lot of oomph.
They're going to go the way Colonel Custer and Saddam Hussein went. In their last words are going to be, "Damn, where'd all those tomahawks come from?" All right, we got to flip it a break when we come back. I want to know about hunting in Poland. That's always a good topic. So we've been pretty heavy here. So we'll be right back here on Fox Sports 910. interviews 2 or 3 times when he was back in the U.S. He's an Arizona guy, avid hunter, avid fisherman, outdoorsman, and for the last 3 years, you've been doing a lot of camping. Okay,
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. So, one of the best stories that you tell is about hunting in Poland, and post our interviews and stuff. Jim and I've looked into that, about coming to Poland, and
It's very expensive and it's hard to find game. Don't go to Poland.
oh, so it's all changing.
No, I'm joking. It's like a freaking.
Oh, come on. You're just trying to keep
I don't
me out
want
of my
people.
magic
Yeah,
spot.
I'll take you out there, but I don't want to ruin the place. No, it is an amazing experience, and their management program that they have in the country is extremely well done, and it's very interesting because Poland's it's got a very large hunting culture out in the country. Like almost everybody hunts and owns a rifle. It's not something you'd think of in Europe, but yeah, the variety and the amount of game it's really heavy, and they're really well, like I said, they're really well managed, and the carrying capacity of the land out there is phenomenal.
It's just immense.
Yeah, I mean, it grows really big stags and really big roe deer. And,
Yeah,
and
one of the things that you and I and Jim have had conversations about is that block over there is so rich in history. I'm a Knights Templar, Jim's a Knights Templar, but there's so much Knights Templar history in Ukraine, and even moving into Poland. It's just absolutely amazing over there. And then you get into the hunting, outdoor culture. The average citizen there in Poland, do they have opportunities to hunt, or are they on a limited basis because of the firearm situation?
No, the only thing that they really have to do that's different than what we do. They all have access and they can all hunt. The only thing that they like when they get their rifles, I don't know if it's annual or it's like every few years. I'm not really sure, but they have to go in and do like a psychological screening, and it takes like an hour. They schedule an appointment. They go in, fill out a questionnaire, then they sit down with some kind of mental health professional.
Oh,
and
that
then,
sounds good.
Yeah, they go through everything, and then they stamp them and clear them, and then,
Really?
but so that's about all that's different. And then of course they're like they don't know handguns, but rifle, shotgun. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't know if you've been listening to the news, but Michigan's been in the news because of brass knuckles. Yeah, brass knuckles been outlawed. It's like, come on.
Poland's extremely safe. I mean, the only people that you have to worry about is like when I go into Krakow or something like the big cities, and it's usually the drunken like British expats. It's not the Polish people.
No.
Like, they're just culturally, they're very like, they don't have violent crime. I mean, if like a child got kidnapped in that country or something like that, or went missing, that'd be like a national like put the place on lockdown until you found the kid. Yeah. Like, I mean, their crime rate is super low.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very safe. It's like I said, it's foreigners that come in and have these tourist parties, and lad vacation, whatever they call it.
Yeah, they go over there and want to have spring break. Yeah.
It's all ages, and it just like they act like complete idiots. That's Brits for you. So it's like that everywhere I go. When whether it be Dubai, Abu Dhabi, it's like they're just. Everybody talks about ugly Americans. It's like Brits are just totally obnoxious.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The world traveling. What's your situation so far as the fishing in the Middle East. You spent some time in Abu Dhabi, and the fishing is just absolutely amazing over there.
It is. So to me, what was really interesting is like they don't have the bottom of the ocean over there. It's all sand, and so the water's super clear, but there's no reefs, so there's nowhere for the fish to live. But there's so many oil tankers that get. I mean, these things, it goes on for dozens of miles.
Yeah.
Where these tankers are in rows and waiting for a pickup of a load and everything else, and they sit out there long enough to where it builds like an artificial reef on the bottom.
Oh yeah, that's artificial habitat, absolutely.
Yeah, and so you pull up next to these tankers and start casting underneath them, and it's just like, boom, man, you're just killing something.
Wow.
I mean, it is. Fishing is great, and that mahi that's over there is just like, I mean, I've made some great like ceviche. I mean, I've done all kinds of like baked. I mean, every variety way to cook it, and it's incredible. So yeah, that was like kind of one of my. I mean, I've done saltwater before, but yeah, that was a really always a fun experience.
Yeah, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, that's about a 14 over there. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this, brother. What do you have in store for yourself moving forward?
So I've got a couple different companies that I opened up. One's an NGO that's specifically focused on Ukraine, bringing in medical supplies and providing some different logistics for Ukrainians to bring in supplies that they need and stuff like that, and then working with some of the hospitals over there. And then have another company that's focused on political advisory work, and then a domestic company under this. They're all under the same banner, but it's 3 different companies.
Yeah.
That provide these kind of services and things like that. So we're taking that and we're going to replicate it in Abu Dhabi, and then kind of action some national security items in Latin America and Mexico. So that's kind of the focus going forward.
Outstanding. Well, that's pretty interesting. The stuff that we're supporting over there via, our personal checkbooks, and some of the other stuff with the couple of different organizations. Is there anybody that you can think of that would lend some assistance and mitigation for the orphanage over there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to apologize. I am so hung up on that orphanage, I can't even stand it.
Yeah, there's several Ukrainian organizations that I know that are trustworthy, that I work with our NGO that I can give you more details on later to put up on Facebook. But yeah, there's 2 that come to mind right away that specifically deal with orphans, and yeah, it's definitely an issue. And
well, that's such a big issue because they have about 35 round numbers, give or take 1 or 2, whatever it is, that are bona fide orphans that have no parents.
Right.
That they certify their parents are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that. And then there was another 45 or 46 that were kind of in limbo. They're trying to figure out what the status of their parents is. They're gone, but they don't know whether they're alive, dead, captured, split, whatever the case is.
yeah, it's very difficult to get to Ukraine, and this is from the Ukrainian side, to get them to release those names and the figures. So, yeah, it could be a while before they unpack that.
Yeah. Well. All righty. Next hour, we've got Coffee and Chaos. We're going to talk about things go bump in the night, M406 Rifle Company, hooey, and some of the firearms that they're building. And Sheriff Wynn, Marv Jesse, he's going to be right involved in that. Then we talked to Chris Rich about fly. You need to get with Chris Rich, do some fly fishing.
Yeah, I want to.
Oh, man, this guy he's remarkable. And then we'll get an update from James Guggenauer. Don McDowell, Fox Sports 910. We'll be back. with Colonel Chaos himself. What's happening, gentlemen?
Living a dream.
Living the dream. Okay, so Jesse's here in studio. You haven't met him yet, but you will. For the listener's sake and his sake, where are you guys exactly in Montana?
We're direct, well, kind of in the central part of Montana in a way, but it's between the big cities of Helena and Bozeman. We're on Highway 287 between those two towns. Obviously, the capital, and then Bozeman, one of the fastest growing places in the nation. So we get to see a lot of fun things, in this area. To kind of, I don't know if you saw it in the news or not, and here just I think it was last week, ICE came in and took some of those Venezuelan gang members out. There's 6 of them there in Bozeman. They transported those fine folks out of here and down to their new home in what country? El Salvador. So it's crazy to know that 60 miles away there's these criminals that are just creating havoc in the world.
I had to laugh about that because I understand Tucson, Phoenix, Cascade, Gila Bend, Yuma, Somerton, Lukeville, blah blah blah. We got them, but Bozeman, Montana, come on.
Yeah, they don't really blend there.
And here's the crazy thing, Don, is that Bozeman in the Big Sky area, all the big Tom Brady, all those Justin Timberlake, they all have homes up at the Yellowstone Club, which is all of 40 miles from Bozeman. And it's like, okay, I guess Big Sky and Bozeman are welcoming to all sorts of individuals, rich or criminals, I guess. So
they don't let us up there.
They don't let us up there, no.
They don't want any coffee and chaos.
Gee, I wonder why. Because we got to put Jesse, as a standing member of Coffee and Chaos, because no matter where he goes, there's chaos. Trust me.
Well, it sounds like he's been doing a lot of fishing.
He's been doing a lot of hunting, let's say.
Yeah, I haven't been.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not so much fishing lately.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit. We've had quite a bit of interest pop up on M406 Rifle Company on the manufacturing that you're doing. Jesse, so you'll know, they have 2 rifle companies. They're building custom, pretty much sticking with AR platforms, moving into, as need be, and classic traditional long guns for, hunting and so on.
Wow.
But, before airtime, we talked about some of the calibers that you're doing, and the 300 blackouts, last week and at a 308 level have created quite a bit of questioning. So give us a rundown. So if Jesse wants to buy a custom rifle, what do you need from him? Do you need length of pull? What information do you need? Height, width, arm length? Or are you using a standard platform?
Well, Jesse wants a rifle. It's like any other rifle. And you got to be provide. You got to go through the protocol. But we can, Jesse, I know you, and I would like to see you're doing good. Welcome home.
Thank you.
We would love to be able to build you rifle, brother. And we would love to have you on the show, but the problem is that we can't have 2 colonels same time on us. So
I'm not a colonel. I was a brigade commander in combat twice. I'm not a colonel.
I'm going to get some holy water. We're going to make you a colonel.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But Sheriff trumps both of them, right?
I totally agree with that. I mean, I speak Arabic, so it's Sharif.
Oh, no, nice.
But yes, Jesse, we would love to be able to build you whatever type of rifle you want. I mean, we can do, we have if you get a chance, go on the Montana 406 rifle hoovyhooby.com, or you can go on the atriusrifle.com. We build two different types of rifles, and you're one of the few that'll know when I say tier 1 and tier 2 level rifles.
Mm-hmm.
One is precision, one is, go out there and do what you do on a regular basis with a good, sturdy rifle, but we do them in all different types of calibers. One of the latest and greatest we just did was an 8.16 Blackout, which is basically a 308 cartridge dumbed down to accommodate a 338 Lapua round in it. Did it 12.5-inch barrel suppressed and a 1-3 twist, and it's getting amazing results.
Wow. What caliber is that again?
8.6 Blackout.
Oof. Yeah, because the Russians they have a suppressed Kalashnikov that's in 8mm, I want to say, I don't know if it's by 39 or it might be a little bit longer. It might be 45. It's not as big as it. Yeah, but man, that thing out to 300 meters, and it's got an integral suppressor on it. It's like one of the best urban sniping weapons. Every time I get a hold of one of those guys and put them down, like the boys rush in there and scoop up those rifles before I can get one. They're a little hastier than I am.
Yeah, bummer.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten one yet. But
I guarantee you this rifle will give it a run for its money. Plus, it's American made.
Yeah, I've always thought that was a really neat idea to take that 33 caliber round and then put it on some kind of a short case like that. That's pretty interesting. That's cool.
All right, so moving forward, Kimo, what do you have in store for yourself in the next couple of weeks? Anything we need to know about?
Nothing too exciting. We'll just go back on the road, flying with wonderful individuals. Starting tomorrow, should be a trip, couple of 6-7 days, and then be back. And Lynn and I will start hitting what we're going to try to start doing rifle-wise, and light. So that's a big part in everything that we do. So get your listeners to go out and check out Soda Arms and Vector Optics. Make great stuff. Eric over at MidPro. And if you got any listeners that have any ideas or something they'd like to see rifle-wise, drop us a line. We also do custom starter codes as well. Just go to both rifle websites, check them out. And Jesse, you let us know, man. We got you covered.
Okay. One of the things that came up from a radio show last week, we were talking about ATF, and Jesse, I'll share this with you. Rumor has it Sheriff Wynn's going to open up a convenience store called Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Oh, I love that story.
I love it.
I wish I could. I just don't have the time in my schedule right now. But one of the things we did reach out to Sheriff Lamb last week. We're still working real hard to try to get that fundraiser on that rifle for him and those guys down there at the sheriff support your sheriff foundation. So we're working hard, trying to make that happen as well, and trying to do some things here in Montana to help out some of the groups, like Elma's Got Your Six and things of that nature. So it's a multifaceted kind of going in 12 different directions type thing here lately. So hopefully we can get it under control instead of feel like we're herding cats. So
post the election, I think everybody I know and deal with, and including the cattle industry, agriculture, you name it, everybody's doing 47 things that we weren't doing in the past. And moving forward, we live in some pretty precarious times, but I see progress every single day, and I'm really excited at the direction we're going under the new administration, Donald Trump and his cabinet, without exception.
Well, the frustrating thing about that, though, Don, is, and I was telling Kimo about this today or yesterday. I said, it's amazing. Doge is saving all this money, finding all this money. I know Hegseth, the Secretary Hegseth, he just canceled like $580 million in contracts. And it's cool. We're saving all this money. Now we're spending all of it in litigation because we got all these Biden-appointed judges that are denying Trump his due right there on how he handles business as president. So now we're spending all of our money that we were saving to fight the dang things in court and overload the judiciary.
Yeah, but that's kind of a have to. That's like dealing with the guy that pulled the pin. I mean, you got to deal with them, and there's no doubt in my mind that Pam Bondi and the rest of the cabinet at whatever level they're at are going to deal with these judges. This is it's going to be uncomfortable, probably for a year, 14, 16 months. But my best guess is it's going to be like the Ninth Circuit Court. It's going to be dealt with, and they're going to go away. Yeah. Because it's time to stop.
Yeah, and you have to give kudos to, I can't tell you the last time I remember a sitting U.S. president attending the NASCAR race, or he was there at championship wrestling. The man at the UFC, I mean, he's not afraid to get out there and be in the public and I bet his Secret Service agents are pulling their hair out because he puts them. Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in when you got 70,000 people in a room. That's hard to control, But good on him, and I'm glad he does what he does.
Yeah, it's going to be a better place worldwide. So, all right, we're going to flip into a break. God love you guys. I appreciate you guys doing what you're doing, and we'll do this again, and then we need to firm up a date because you'll get a kick out of this. In fact, you're invited here. We've got Metropho that are building the optics for IDF. We've got Vector Optics coming in. We've got Kimo and Wynn coming in, so it's going to be quite a show. And maybe, depending on his schedule, Sheriff Lamb, that was, he's America's sheriff. Did seriously, but now he's doing some other stuff. He made a bid for Senate that didn't work out well, but maybe next time, because there's so many guys. We got to get rid of Kelly down here. I mean, this guy's just like. Anyway, I'm going to get on my soapbox. But anyway, hey, thank you guys, and I'll get you some emails. Jasmine's going to give me some stuff that you asked for this morning, and I will email it to you at some point today.
Outstanding.
All right, you guys, we're going to wish you the best rest of the weekend. We're going to flip into a hard break here at Fox Sports 910. I'm Don McDowell. We have Pete in the house. We're going to tell you about that, and Brother Jesse's here.
Thanks, guys.
We're back, cruising pretty hard here today. Coffee and chaos. Mr. Chaos himself is in the studio, back from Ukraine. And now it's time for Chris Rich. Chris Rich, what are you doing, brother?
Oh, I tell you what, Don McDowell, we got a beautiful Arizona day. Hey, by the way, you hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound kind of distant, but, that's fine.
I wonder if they ought to try to call back. I think we have a bad connection because you're real scratchy. You want to have them call me right back, see if we get a better connection?
Yeah, 10-4. Yeah, give him a call back. In the meantime, we have Pete from Defender Engraving in the house. Thank you so much for coming down. I appreciate it. I want to show everybody what you did. This guy made hats for Chris Rich that we're talking to, Arizona Fly Shop, and myself. I've got, never mind, I've got headphones on. But you ever try to put your hat on with headphones? It doesn't work. Yeah, that's the way we get dressed. First your socks, then your shoes, okay? Yeah. Jeez. So anyway, we've got Pete in here, and I'm going to give you his phone number. This guy does an awesome job on hats, engraving. Look at this knife. I mean, this is just absolutely tremendous. This is a keepsake, okay? Okay, we got Chris now.
Hey, that sounds a lot better, Don. That sounds a lot better, Don McDowell. Sounded like we were both in foxholes there for a minute.
Yeah, when Jesse's here, that's where we need to be, Anyway,
hey,
your buddy,
I'll tell you what, we got a beautiful Arizona day in front of us, and we got some beautiful weather in front of us for the next couple of weeks. I think spring is popping right upon us. I think those bass are getting ready to bed up.
Yep.
I know the sucker fish. The Sonora sucker at the Salt River, which is one of our favorite fish to chase out there at the Salt River, they're doing the spawn dance right now. They're on reds, starting to spawn out there. So, hey, spring is coming, and lots of people are catching fish out there at the Salt River. It is loaded with rainbow trout right now, thanks to Arizona Game and Fish. And a lot of people are having a lot of fun out there catching those trout. I'll tell you what else is going on right now is Willow Springs, Woods Canyon Lake, right up on the rim. Those are, people are able to get back in there, and they're having a lot of success catching holdover rainbows. So I'm hearing the same thing up in the White Mountain area, Show Low Lake, Rainbow Lake, Woodland Lake. People are having a lot of fun catching nice holdover trout. So a lot of good activity happening around the state.
Okay, so how'd you guys do with the canal fishing? We got a few nice grass carp out of the canal last week. The canal fishing is also. These guys are catching 40-pound carp out of the canals on a fly rod.
I mean, we've gotten a few of them over 50, and that's actually where I'm headed out today to go chase some of them. But this is prime time, in my opinion, to do that because we're not in the middle of the summer, although they're most active and they feed the best in the middle of the summer. They're warm water fish, and they like that warm water. Their metabolism is really going good in the summertime. But they're starting to kind of heat up right now, and the weather is absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is the time of year everybody wants to be in Arizona. It's fantastic. So.
Let me ask you this.
Lots of good stuff going on. Yeah, go ahead.
What was the final tally on casting for recovery at your expo?
5,500.
Excellent.
5,500. So that's gonna go a long ways for casting for recovery to put their retreat together and be able to send those ladies home with fly rod setups and all the gear that they need to be able to continue their fly fishing journey.
Okay. 10-4. Your buddy Pete is here. We have our new hats in the house. I can't thank you enough for introducing me to Pete because he's got we got Don McDowell hats coming. We got the first ever Southwest Ranch hats. Good job, Pete. Awesome.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. I was really pleased putting these together for you.
Oh, thank you, man. This is just really awesome. So. Okay, what's next on your schedule? The AZ Game
Cuba.
and Fish Expo is out coming up here real quick.
Yeah, we got that next weekend, right? This weekend we've got the beginner fly fishing class. They're one-day classes. We had one yesterday. We had about 12 people there. The shop is closed today, but we've got about 8 people in the shop with the second one-day beginner fly fishing school with Cinda Howard. So that's exciting. We got some more people getting out on the water. Next weekend we will be out at the Game and Fish Expo. We'll be set up right there with the Trout Unlimited tent and the 2 Fly Fishing Club tents. So we're looking forward to that. And the other thing we're doing is we're in hot pursuit of Cuba. We leave
Cuba
next month.
Yeah,
go
yeah.
down there for a week.
Yeah, see, when you go down there, see if you can find me a 51 Chevy 2-door coupe.
I'll tell you what, I guarantee I can find you one. Now, whether or not I can get it back, that's a different question.
That's the next thing.
One piece at a time.
Yeah.
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 So that's what we've got going on next month. We've got a lot of travel trips going on. I'm hoping to get up into the White Mountains before I go to Cuba next month. I mean, things are popping up there. I see people catching a lot of nice browns. The lakes are all accessible, and thank God we got the snow, so we've got a little bit of water coming down. But this is prime time in Arizona to be out fishing. And I'll tell you the other thing, Don. The store has been slam busy. There's a lot of people getting ready to fish. The summer's coming. Everybody's excited, and I say we need more of that.
Yeah, we do. Well, it's like I told you before. That's why we have tourists. These guys don't fish. So
there's no question about it.
True story.
Yeah,
do
man.
a fish by proxy and help. I wish we could do like a fish by proxy. Kind of how some of these, like a baptism by proxy. And I don't know if it works though. I'll fish for them, see if it helps them out a little bit. But I'll try. I'll keep trying.
Well, years ago, we tried to put together a fishing tournament experience, not a tournament, between American veterans and Russian veterans that had served in Afghanistan. We made it through the State Department, and Voice of America was in the middle of it, and Putin pulled the plug on it. So next thing we know, we're in Ukraine. So. See what I mean?
Yeah, they don't like to lose stuff in public.
Yeah.
So, we'd obviously take it out of them. So I can see why they pulled the plug on that.
Yeah, I get it. Well, that may be an opportunity for you to put together a fly shop in Ukraine. What do you think, Jesse?
Fishing is a massive part of the Ukrainian culture. There are fishing shops with, rods, waders, all the gear and everything. I mean, in every single mall that I've been into, yeah. And then the big hardware stores.
That's pretty cool.
It's
pretty cool.
Extremely pervasive.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I know in Ireland, England, like kind of that, I guess, Western Europe, fly fishing is not that big of a thing. It's surprising. Both Ireland and England claim to be the home of fly fishing, and they both, maybe that's what they fought their war over. I don't know. But you go over there, and there are no fly fishing stores. There are very few people out there fly fishing, and it's surprising. But for some reason, they've got beautiful water. They've got lots of fish, and but it's just for some reason in their culture, it doesn't seem to be.
Well,
be that big a thing.
Being an Irishman, I'm kind of mad at them. They don't fish because they got way too many pubs. So I mean, that's a given. The other thing is, I'm going to have to denounce my heritage because they let Rosie O'Donnell into Ireland. I mean, what's up with that?
What is wrong with the world?
Well, I tell you what, I know when I was over there, they were talking about that. They got a big push for immigration. They're trying to bring people in from anywhere they want to come. I mean, it's very very
not
open border.
not
Like
not
they're
Hollywood.
trying to grow
Come
the
on.
population. She's out of here. She's out of here.
All right. You got me on my soapbox. Thanks a lot, Chris Rich. All right, hey man, I appreciate what you do. We'll try to make an appearance out there at Arizona Game and Fish Expo, depending on what we're doing down on the border, which is heating up, which is a conversation for offline. So, God love you, man. Have a great afternoon.
Hey, Don, thanks for having me on. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, roger that. Chris Rich, AZ Fly Shop, north side of Cactus Road, on the west side of the area of 51 Highway. I'm Don McDowell. We're going to flip into a break. When we come back, Commissioner Gogan Hour, we'll find out what the bass are dancing on, and more of Jesse and Pete. You guys got to check out these hats. How long you been? Okay. Going from the Ukraine, from Abu Dhabi, Yemen, the Gaza to downtown Payson. James, what's happening, buddy?
You're covering the whole world this morning, Don. A beautiful day here in Payson. Nice, warm, overnight day. We were down around 40 degrees. We're going to get up to the high 60 today. Tonto Basin is the same thing. They're in the mid-40s, but they're going to get up to the mid-70s today. So,
wow,
great fishing weather. Great fishing weather.
Well, Chris Rich, kind of danced on a little bit. What are the basses doing? Spawn wise, they came up, they went down. We had cold fronts. The water temperature dumped. So with the increase in the temperature that we're having, the water temperatures are coming up. Are they going to be back on beds this week?
You know they are, Don. They are already on bed. Spring bass fishing is at its peak right now. We did have that storm, as you mentioned. What was that, 10 days ago? Kind of pushed some fish back off the beds, but as soon as it warms up a little bit, they come right back there. The water level has been very stable. We are still at 68%, but here's how dry it is on the watershed down there, Don. We talked a couple of weeks ago how after that storm we saw a bump up in the cubic feet flowing in the Salt River. It is back down this morning to 100 cubic feet per second. That is 6% of its normal flow for this time of year.
Boy, we're in bad shape.
Yeah, we're gonna need some more rain for sure, but it's good to get some of that down there. But for bass that are pre-spawn and bass that are post-spawn, you're fishing in 15 to 25 feet of water with spinner baits, topwater baits, crankbaits, SR5s, lipless crankbaits, anything that makes those bass react, you can catch it on. Yesterday, I took a ride up to the Tonto end, and there were so many boats up there by Indian Point Land crappie fishing that I had to take a huge loop around them almost over to the shoreline because there were so many boats up there crappie fishing.
Oh, my goodness.
So good time to be down at the lake, no matter what you're doing. I know it's spring break for some people. There's a bunch of campers at Orange Peel and what's the other one there? Orange Peel. I'll think of it here in a second. But, horse pasture.
Yeah,
and,
horse pasture. Yeah.
So lots of campers there, lots of people on the water. Be safe out there, but a lot of fun down there at the lake for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Is anybody talking about, are they still throwing rattle traps at this point?
Yes. Anything that looks like a reaction bait. And the water is pretty clear because there haven't been a lot in there. So a silver color is actually working better than the darker ones. I know you're a big fan of the purple and brown colors for lipless crankbaits, but the chrome right now is probably the color to go with down there.
Well, that's true. Especially with the rattle traps, the chrome with a blue or a black back. And then one of the things that we've talked about, those of us who have Sharpies in our tackle box, is to either put a black dot on the gill plate or a black dot on the rear.
Yep. I mean, all those things that attract a little bit of red on that thing is a killer as well. But yeah, it's a fun time. I'm still talking to guys. We've been saying this for like 3 weeks. Guys are telling me average fishermen that go down there, 20 fish a day is like the average that you can catch on Roosevelt, catch and release.
Yeah.
And great fun down there. Remember, for our crappie fishermen, there's a limit on Roosevelt of 15 crappie per angler per day.
Yes,
so
sir.
Keep that in mind.
Okay. What's the dominant color? Are you going to stay with your John Deere?
Motor oil is what I was hearing this week, more because I think the water's so clear. The motor oil grubtail jig, same size, a small 3/8 grubtail, but it's more translucent. And I always think that when the water's clear and we have blue skies, that translucent baits seem to work better on Roosevelt. Same thing with, everybody talks about drop shotting and a morning dawn color. I think one of the reasons that bait is so successful is that it's translucent.
Exactly.
It's different in the water.
Yeah. Well, you have Roosevelt that has clear conditions sometimes, but when you get over on the gin clear side of Lake Pleasant, the translucent baits are a have to, in very long surgical casts.
Absolutely right. We have a lot of guys that like to use a drop shot technique, and not saying that you can't catch fish all day long on a drop shot. Some people prefer that method, and that's fine. And most other people, I think, like the reaction baits a little better just because of the action of the strike.
Yeah. Well, some of us have ADD. We don't drop shot.
I know. I was saying that for you, Don.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's chunk and wine for 8 hours. Yeah, I get it.
Yep, you got it. Let me jump to trout fishing, and Chris Rich is spot on. The summer-spring stocking by the Arizona Game and Fish is under full swing throughout Rim Country and North. All the lakes and streams up here, Tonto Creek, Hagler, East Verde, Clear Creek, Christopher Creek, Canyon Creek, they are all being stocked on a weekly basis.
What about, let me ask you this, what about Bender's Pond down at Gila Bend? Is that still getting fish?
I didn't look at that one, Don, but I'm guessing it does. I know that's part of the stocking program for Game and Fish. That's a new pond that was just established a couple of years ago. So I would think I'll check that out and let you know next week for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's on there.
Okay, we've got some business down in the Gila Bend area next week. We're going to be setting up trail cams. We've been talking with WM Travis down there, who does a great job for the department. But anyway, we've got some strategic trail cams to put up on some waters that we've worked on to develop and see who's coming in.
Dale, see if you can find that black mountain lion.
I have no comment. Thank you.
I didn't think you would.
So that, from what I understand, that's Arizona Game and Fish Department answer to DEI. Is that correct?
There you go. That's a good thing.
Okay, let me ask you this. What I know you guys were inundated. We watched a little bit of the commission meeting online, and there seems to be an assault on the wolves again. The depredation is certainly more than what Fish and Wildlife is reporting on the cattle industry. And we've got a survey going out next week to all of our cattle growers, Gila County, Pinell County, Maricopa County, Yavapai County, and those that belong to the Arizona Cattle Growers Association on depredation from mountain lions. Has been the big talk at the Winkleman NRCD meeting that I attended 2 weeks ago. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, but mountain lions dominated, along with coyotes getting a little bit too emboldened, and then the wolf issue is James, it's blowing up, and I think the industry is going to stand up and start fighting it. So, any thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. We had, I think it was 12 people who came and addressed the commission. These are ranchers that are over on the eastern side of the state, particularly the southeastern side. Our meeting was in Safford, and they talked about wolf depredations and the impact that it's having on their operations there. Very compelling stories. Understood the issues that they have with that. Part of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife program to protect endangered species. So we made it clear to them that, that's who manages that program, and that the Game and Fish Department for Arizona and New Mexico work with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife to administer that program, but we don't make the decisions on it. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife does.
Yeah, understood. But, I think we're going to make it clear to Fish and Wildlife that their wolves indeed have become an endangered species just because of their lack of attention to it. So just saying, we'll keep you posted before we do anything.
Definitely. And, we had some other speakers come talk to us about bonus points and also crossbow use during archery season. So one of the great things that the commission does, and this is for your audience, Don, I know that you understand this, we like to move our commission meetings around the state and go to small communities like Safford to be able to hear the local issues that are there. And so, the wolves are a popular subject, a lot of controversy over Mexican gray wolves. But I admire the commission for saying we're gonna go there and talk to those people. They deserve to be heard, just like people that fish Saguaro Lake deserve to be heard, or mule deer hunters or elk hunters around the state. So all good news, and enjoyed speaking with those ranchers. We got to talk to a couple of them. We also had Senator Dave Gowan, who is also the senator that represents that area.
Yes, sir.
And Representative Lupe Diaz,
Yes.
so a legislator from the House and a senator, also spoke at the meeting. So very good. I mean, that's the whole idea of what we do. We want to listen to everybody's input and make the best decisions that the commission can make.
Yes, sir. I appreciate what you guys do. We got to go. Who's your pick on NASCAR today?
You know what? I've been so bad this week or this year on picking winners. The only thing I'm going to say is Hendricks Motorsports. They got 3 cars in the top 15 starting today.
It's either them or RCR. Well,
there you go.
Kyle did a good job yesterday. He dominated, and Sam, shoved a bumper up his pipes and got his back wheels off the ground on that last restart. So shame on Sammy. I'm sure that'll be dealt with. And then he won the truck series Friday night, so I'll look to him to be a real contender today. But the other guy that's been knocking on the door is Joey Logano, but he's been having a case of larcenism, down there at the last. So, all right, we'll see. I'll be in touch. There's a hot dog on the line today.
Hey, I look forward to your text this afternoon, Don. Thanks.
Okay. James Guggenauer, Rim Country Custom Rods, Arizona Game and Fish Department Commissioner. I'm Don McDowell. We're going to close this out in one more segment and get on with the day. we've got an awful lot of activity coming across the border, bothering wildlife waters, livestock waters, so on and so forth. So anyway, that's what's going on. And then let's see, we got the Arizona Game and Fish Expo coming up next weekend out at Ben Avery Shooting Range, world-class facility. So, that's about it for me on housekeeping stuff. You got anything to add on behalf of yourself?
No, just looking at taking those companies that we established and getting down into El Salvador and working our way backwards up through Mexico. And
okay, I know you speak Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, and this, that, and the other thing. Do you speak Spanish?
I used to. I need to brush up on it real hard. But yeah, some of the other guys on the team do.
Okay.
So, yeah, usually I just hire a girl and bring her around with me. I use them as an interpreter.
I thought you'd learn your lesson on that.
Yeah, well, that was Greek.
Oh, that's a discussion for offline.
Just kidding.
Yeah, unless you want to get it on air, let's go for it.
No. But yeah, so we're looking at not dealing with the cartels so much, but disrupting some of the Chinese logistics that are bringing in components for fentanyl, which are being assembled in Mexico and those Latin American countries. So stopping the logistics from the Chineses. So that's kind of the focus of what our group's going to be doing.
Cut the head of the snake off.
Well, I mean, if you cut the head off, then it's just going to grow a new one. If you start taking it from the tail up, then they won't be able to distribute.
That's an interesting way to look at it, Pete. Yeah. So kind of what I'm saying. Pete, thank you so much for your coming down here today, and great job on the hats. Give your phone number out if you wish.
Sure. If you're interested, it's defenderengraving@gmail.com. You can reach me at 480-861-9724. Leave me a text, and all I need from you is your artwork, and we can discuss whether you want a snapback hat or a fitted hat and what color you might like, and I'll take care of the rest. And if you're in the Valley, I can deliver, or I can ship them out to you.
Okay, phone number and one more time.
Phone number 480-861-9724, and email is defenderengraving@gmail.com.
Okay, outstanding. Once again, great quality. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. We'll do something for you on Facebook, or whatever we can do.
And I'll get the website coming.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, real quick update over on the left coast, H&M Landing, San Diego dock totals. Nothing's popped up yet. There's no pelagics moving in. There is some rumors down at Punta Colonet. There's still a pile of yellowtail down there. Mag Bay, it's got a lot of them. So they're headed up the trough, and it's time to start thinking about booking your trips. And Malahini is in the water. She's been repaired. She got bumped into by, check this, a Mexican Navy boat bumped into the Malahini. Little bit too close.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, I think they profiled Captain Bill. So yeah, maybe it was a pirate flag. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna have to outfit that thing with a 50 cal or something.
It's an old PT boat.
Well,
1945. Still looks like, smells like.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, and he's a former Marine sniper. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm sure I can find some torpedoes in the Black Sea to put on that thing.
Yeah, knowing Billy's got the torpedo tubes. So anyway, they had 3 boats out of H&M. The Horizon, one of Bill's other boats, it's an 80-foot, 25 by 80-foot, has berthing for 30, 60 if they're really good friends. Has galley space for 40. The Premier is running half-day morning trips, AM, and a half-day PM trip, and they're scooping up bottom fish. The total of 5 trips, 158 anglers. 179 sculpin, 82 sand bass, boatload of rockfish, perch, calico bass, and sheephead. So you can book directly with MalahiTiSportFishing.com and or HorizonSportFishing.com. And if you have any comments for Captain Chemo, you can look up on Facebook and find Coffee and Chaos. I know we've got a couple of guys looking for information on the M406 rival company, Hui AR platforms that they're building. They're building 5.56 to 300 blackouts, 6.5 variations, 224, 6.8, 76 by 39, and then they're getting into the Beowulf 50s and stuff like that. So like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. I'm Don McDowell. Take your kids fishing, hug your